She was born at 32 weeks, and she was pretty sick. My water had been broken for 5 weeks before she was born, so she couldn't strengthen her lungs. So she had very weak lungs. She had pulmonary hypertension, and she was just a very sick little girl. They had to do everything in their toolbox to keep her stable, but slowly she made steps each day with the awesome care that she received at Barbara Bush. And she ended up coming home after 8 weeks on home oxygen. After just over 2 years, in February of 2019, after all the amazing care that she got from our pulmonologist, Dr. Wyatt, and his team, she finally came off oxygen. And we were so over the moon. We did a photo shoot of her saying goodbye to her oxygen, and she had a shirt that said, "I beat this and that," and the shirt wasn't even big enough to include everything. And then just 1 short month later, she got a cold. And we had been back to Barbara Bush Children's Hospital a few times for a couple overnight stays to make sure she was beating whatever virus that she had at the time. So we thought this one was going to be the same. We'd go for a quick overnight tune-up, get a few more inhalers, a couple meds, and be on her way to being as healthy as she was before. Pretty quickly though, I think even on the first night after we were admitted, they started talking about the potential for the PICU, and she was kind of riding that line between the floor and PICU care. But around midnight, it became pretty clear that we needed to be moved over there, and it couldn't wait till the morning. And then I think on the third day in the PICU, she was just having a really bad episode. And I just remember just tears. We were both panicked and tears, and her room was full of amazing staff. And I just remember looking up and looking at the nurse and saying, "You have to intubate, right?" And she just kind of nodded. And that's when the quick thinking, I think, of Dr. Ferguson saved her life, because he had the foresight to know that Emily was going to need more than intubation.
I knew at that time we had 2 problems. Emily had an oxygenation failure in her lungs, but we also knew that she had pulmonary hypertension at baseline. And so I knew that with her illness, we were in a place where we may need to bypass both her lungs and her heart. And so I had to make a decision whether I thought ECMO was on the table or not. In her case, the speed at which she was getting sick, I was very concerned that that's where we were heading. And my worry was, if I tied her to an oscillator, that may actually be at the end of Emily. It might have been the last decision I could have made, and we wouldn't have been able to support her past that.
Emily is obviously strong, but sometimes we don't give the boys enough credit for how resilient and how strong they are.
Emily is our sister who received a lung transplant, and we thank Hannah Eve for giving us the lungs so fast. My hospital experience was kind of scary when I first learned about what was happening with Emily and all the stuff that was happening. I didn't know if she would make it, and I was kind of worried. They helped us by giving us like books so that we can kind of learn more about what's happening and what could happen and all that.
It's tough for them. I mean, it was a big part of their life revolves around Emily and everything that we do for her. Even when we were in Boston, it was really challenging. It was really tough because they didn't understand why we were gone for so long.
And it was quick. Like one day we were there,
yeah,
and she had a cold, and we were gone.
Yeah, so like they didn't understand. We tell her we were sick, but we also didn't want to tell them how bad she was. We were nervous about what do we really tell them. We didn't know what to do, so it was really rough for them. But I think they're very resilient. They're really strong, and they've done a really great job.
As a 2.5-year-old waiting for lungs, they're so small that lungs don't come quickly. So we were told to expect weeks, more likely months, and Emily really had days to weeks left. So when the call came in just 36 hours after being listed, it was a miracle. I mean, there's no other word for it. We were not hoping another child did not make it. We were hoping another child's family made the toughest decision of their lives in their darkest days. And Hannah's family did. Hannah was 22 months old when she became Emily's hero. So Hannah not only saved Emily's life with new lungs, she saved a baby girl with her heart and 2 adult men with her kidneys. So 4 people are living happier, healthier lives today because of one tiny little superhero, Hannah. And that's what we call her, our superhero, and that's what her family calls her.
We get asked a lot in the ICU how you could do a job where you take care of kids who are this sick, and the answer is because we have Emily's. To hear she got lungs was fantastic, and then to hear that she did so well after getting those lungs was even better, and to see the photos of her now is miraculous.
When I tell you she's the light of so many people's worlds, it's such an understatement. Like, she's just amazing, and we would not have her without Barbara Bush. So we are so grateful for Barbara Bush and Boston and Hannah and Taryn and Brian. So many people gave us our little girl back.